Welcome to Yeshiva Daf. Shir sponsor Louis Nishmar's Arim Yakashon Labasitzchok. Starting a new Masechto Masechet Basra. Just to mention, we spoke about in the Shur Machshava on the Daf the Machshava part of Basra. But as I saw, some of the Mefarshim point out that there is the Bobakama, Bomatzia, Basra all speak about Nezikin. As Toy says right over here in the beginning of the Masechto, it's cool Nezikin Masechta Achta is one big Maseches. But what Kama is dealing with nezik, with damages that happens. A person does it either by mistake or purposely, and that's what Bava Kama deals with. Bava Metzia deals already with business, with Shnayim Moichse Betalis, a Metzia. You have people that are discussing Habayis V'Aliyah. You have someone who lives on the second floor, first floor. That's what they're discussing the day-to-day life. When you're going to Boabatso, it's already more exclusive, because you're talking about people that have karkois and they have land, they have houses. How do you divide the land? How do you divide the houses? It doesn't apply right to everybody. It's not day-to-day life. It's more of the executive real estate moguls, the Gemara regarding that. Maybe just to mention this, we mentioned Shor Machshava on the Daf, is what Yonis Haibish says that Bava Kama Bava Kama is connected to tzaddikim, because Bava Kama is Odumud Lo'ilim, even the smallest thing you catch him. Bo Metzia is connected to Beinoni, Metzia and middle, and Bo Abaso is connected to Rishoyim. And that's what we talk about right away about a Mechitza, how you're supposed to get away from the Rishoyim and put a very strong Mechitza against it. So let's start. Something Mishnah. Hashutfim Shirotzu La'asois Mechitza B'chatza. So you have partners and they want to do a Mechitza B'chatza. We'll see right away in the Gemara the difference between what does the Mechitza mean? Does the Mechitza mean to build a wall? Or Mechitza means they want to split the chatzor. So then is boinim es hakoisel be'emtza. They have to build a wall in between. Makom shenagu livnois gvil gazis kfisim leveinim boinim. So all these are different types of material being used, especially a brick or stone, being used in order to build the fence. And there's different sizes, as we'll see in the Gemara. Gvil gazis kfisim leveinim is different ways to build it. Then you build it. Hakol K'minig Medina. You go based on Minig Medina. The Rishonim, when you ask over here, if it's a Kol K'minig Medina, why you have to give me any levels? Just say whatever the Minig Medina is. That's what you do. So Toy says already here that tell you there is a minimal amount that you have to do. And if Minig Medina is to do less, you still have to do more than that. Even though people in this Medina don't do it. And now the Mishnah goes on to explain. Gvil ze noise gimel tfachim, ze noise gimel tfachim. Obviously, as Rashi points out, that means the gevil, the total size of the gevil is 6 tefachim. It's 1 hour. So if I have 2 partners and they want to split the quarter into 2, each one gives half the wall. So if the wall is 6 tefachim, each one gives 3 tefachim. Begazis, what's the size of gazis? 5 tefachim. Ze noite tefachim umerzo. Ze noite tefachim umerzo. Each one gives half, 2.5 and 2.5. Bekfisim, what's the size of kfisim? That will be 4 tefachim. Ze noite tefachim, ze noite tefachim. Beleveinim, a brick, because that will be 1.5 for each one.
This is all minikamaka, what you use, right? So why do you have to go specifically against each one?
No, so once I know minikamaka, I have to tell you right now, you split it half and half. As we'll see that
each one and say this is 2.5.
Right, you could be just set a rule, you do split it half and half. I'm sure when you point out some of the chidush over here, but we'll see the main chidush is that sometimes you don't do half and half. So we'll see that. Therefore, what it means therefore? Therefore, because you say that each one gives half the space. So if the wall fell, it belongs to each one. Right? This place. Because each one gives half. They give half the space and half the wall. So if I come 50 years later, I don't know exactly what they did. I can assume if I have a wall between 2 chatzeros, that half belongs to one, half belongs to the other. Similarly, we're talking about a garden. If there is a place where they put a fence, you have to put a fence. Meaning if they want to split it, put a fence in between. Because is a valley. Interesting, we'll see in the Gemara. The Gemara now says, if the minig is not to be goyder, we didn't say the minig is to be goyder. If the minig is not to be goyder in a valley, so you don't have to do it. Ela imrot. So now we come into what happens. If I don't have to do a fence, so what do I do? Imrot. So if you want, so the one who wants to build a fence, one of the neighbors says, I want to build a fence. You don't have to build a fence. So what does he do? He takes a little bit from his property, builds a fence over there. In order to announce that this wall belongs to him, he puts a chaziz. A chaziz means a sign. It's a little bit of a shape. We'll see in the Gemara, saying this is my wall. Lefikach, therefore, if it fell, the wall fell. So the space and the stones belong to him because it's his. That's what it is. But if they both agree to it, so then so they'll build a koisel in between to build this fence.
On his side?
No.
In the middle?
Yeah, no. So that's what Mishnah says. If they both agree to build a fence, they'll do it in the middle. No, the first one was that you have to do it in the middle. Second was you don't have to. If you want to build a fence, build it your size. If I'm interested in joining with you, so then we'll do it in the middle. We'll see in the Gemara what's the chiddush. In other words, even though the meaning of Mokav is not to do it, we don't build fence in this Mokav. But we decide to do it. If I agreed, I'm actually committed myself to pay half and give you half the space. So then you make a sign both sides to show that they both build it. If it fell, it belongs to both. Right? So we have here the basic rules regarding the wall. Now, why in general? Okay, maybe we have to start with the Gemara. But the Gemara talked about if you have to build a wall. Why do you have to build a wall? What's the reason that you have to build a wall? I'm building here a wall. There's a requirement in some places where that is the requirement. You must build a wall. Why? I want to build a wall because one of two reasons. What? Privacy. What does privacy mean? So there's a big chakir in the Achronim, which they say it's a machlokes rishonim. The pshat is that if I don't have privacy, you causing me nezik. Meaning you are damaging me by the fact that I'm not able to use my chatzah.
But you bought it with the shut from the board. And so if you
Yeah.
put together, you went in with that recognition that you're not going to have.
So my condition is, this is another. Everybody does it, and we're going to build a fence, and that's why you're required to build a fence in order to prevent yourself from doing a nezik. That's the reason. The nezik is called nezik riya, which we'll see in a moment. You're looking at me, you're causing me, without getting into the Indian of nezik riya, which we'll see in a moment. But the point is that you're causing me, like TB said, you're causing me the fact that I cannot use it. So you're damaging me. Or the pshat is that it's b'yichus shchenim. We'll see in Masechet Basra that the Rebbe will get back to the city in a little bit, hopefully in Shabbos. That the idea of Yichus Shchenim is that when you have neighbors, there's some requirements that neighbor has to do. And we'll see more of it as we get further in Masechet Basra. The Rabbanon gave you some ways that neighbors live together, be together. How do you live? What do you do? There's some chiyuvim, obligations that neighbors have. Is that the case? Is it indeed neighbors? And as we'll see going on forward, we'll see nafkaminas beinian. One of the things is, let's say it was boinus, just an example. Let's say there was a wall, the wall fell, I did not know about it, I wanted to pay, I couldn't pay. If it's a mazik, or the mazik chayav loyla. If it's because of Yichus I was oinus. So that is something that we'll get to as we get to throughout this parak. We can have a very similar chakir in a moment. Let's see. So originally, the Gemara said, we thought that a mechitza means a wall. Meaning, they want to build a wall. Kedetanya, as we found that in a brayso. Mechitza sakerim shedifritza. What's mechitza sakerim? The wall of the kerem. Now, once we talk about the wall of the kerem, we know that if you have a vineyard and you have vegetables growing near it, so you're not allowed to put the grapes and the vegetables together. What's the problem putting it together? Keyline, now put together. But if you have a fence, it's fine. The fence, you build a fence, you can bring the vines as close as possible to the fence. You bring the vegetables as close as possible to the fence. You have a fence in between, and the fence broke. Right now, fence is broke, so then what? So you tell him you have to fence it. Who has to fence it? The owner of the vineyard. Without going out too much into it, he's considered to be the one causing the nezek. Chosor v'nifritzo, it broke again. Omer l'gdor, tell him build the fence. So then the din is, so we still have to build it. Says the Gemara that base of base, nisyai shimena v'loy gotro. But if he gave up and say, you know what, I'm not going to fence it anymore. So then, as Rashi points out, the minute it grew 1 out of 200, if it grew the amount that causes a problem of kilayim, it's also. As long as he's intending to take it out, Rabbanan said it's not kilayim, because it's kilayim with the Rabbanan. But once you said, I'm leaving it, I'm not going to build it anymore, so then you are having a problem of kilayim. That's Loshen Kiddush, Loshen the Pasuk, Pentigdash, Amileo, which speaks about kilayim. The Chai Bar is responsible. So that's what it brought over here. Why do we bring this brayso? Just to show you that a mechitza refers to a wall. Mechitza saker, a wall of the ker. Says the Gemara, Taimo de Rotsu. Tafka because they wanted to build the wall. Aloy Rotsu, ein mechayim moisoi. But if they did not want, they didn't want to build it. Right? In other words, they both agreed to build it, then you have to build it. But if they don't want to build it, you don't have to build it. Alma is agree or Lashwa Ezek. Lashwa Ezek is not an Ezek. There's not a problem of having Ezek Riyah. You don't have a problem of looking at somebody else. Because if it would be a problem, so we would not allow it to happen. Says the Gemara, that's what the Gemara brings around. So the fact that I have a choice if to build a fence or not, tells me that Ezek Riyah is not an Ezek.
Yes. The guy doesn't care. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
So then there's no Ezek.
Oh, so the idea is that Ezek Riyah is even if the guy doesn't care, it's still Ezek Riyah. And as before, I should point out, we'll see if we have Shomach Shalom or not, is that we know that already from Bilam and Rasha. Because the Bilam says they didn't look at each other's places. That's the proper way Am Yisrael lives. They don't look at somebody else's house. So even though they don't care, that's not the way to live. So therefore, I would require them to do it. Says the Gemara, who said? Maybe mechitza doesn't mean a wall. Mechitza means a division. You have two partners. Right now, the partners in the chutzah, they're living together. They don't have, it's not separate lots, it's one lot. Only one lot. So now what's the shayla? The shayla is, should we split and make two different lots or not? But once we decide to make two different lots, you have to build a wall. That's what the Gemara saying. Says the Gemara, it means division. The portion of the Eido. If they decide to divide the chutzah, divide the lots, they have to build a wall. Alma Ezek Riyah, Shmei Ezek. Right? Then that means you have to do it. Meaning, I'm not asking you if you have to build a wall. If it's two lots, you must build a wall. So Ezek Riyah is a problem. He says, why it says just say the words, they want to divide it. Elamai, so therefore the Gemara is asking, if we hold that we're talking about division of the property, it's not the right lashon. Says the Gemara, Elamai, good. Elamai, we want to tell you what do they want to do? They want to build a wall. What does the Mishnah say? Again, the Mishnah says you have two partners, right? They want to do something. They want to do a mechitza, so they build a wall. So the Gemara, you know what it means? It means that it's just a mechitza, that they wanted to build a wall. So why you say twice the same word? If two partners want to build a wall, they have to build a wall. You should say, if two partners want to build a wall, they build it. That's what you should say. You're speaking about the wall. So Mishma, if you say the opposite, then what it means, mechitza means not a wall, but it means a division. So I'm saying, if you want to split the chutzah, you have to build a wall. I didn't speak about the wall till now. But if mechitza means I want to build a wall, just say, if mechitza means a wall, just say oiso. Says the Gemara, if you tell me oiso, I think it's even a small division. Meaning even a small piece of wood. and it has to be, now it's not a real wall. The Chiddush of the Mishnah is it has to be a real wall. So if I would tell you I want to do mechitza, I have to do mechitza. You want to do mechitza, you can build a mechitza. Which type of mechitza we're talking about? So it tells you the Mishnah, the way that we do mechitza is, and Kamina Medina is a real wall. It has to be a real division. If you both agree to build a wall, it means to be a real wall. Not this piece of wood which are dividing the chutzah into two. But if we don't want to build a wall, you don't have to build a wall, according to this Gears of the Gemara. Says the Gemara, by the way, we speak about Hezek Riyah, and here comes the Achronim, a very similar Chakiro. Question, what is the problem of Hezek Riyah? Is Hezek Riyah considered to be a Nezek? I'm mazdik with my eyes? Or Hezek Riyah is Dinei Shchenim, that you can't have neighbors living together? Similar concept. Says the Gemara, you build a wall in between. So more Pshito, of course, you're building the wall, because that's what they agreed upon. Which means, he said, one came to the other and said, let's do it. Maybe you could say, I agree to do the smallest wall possible. Meaning, but in other words, all I wanted to do is that we split the chutzah, you don't have the ear, and you won't have a problem, has agreed. But to build a wide kaisel, I never agreed to. So one came to his friend and said, let's build a wall. He said, okay. Well, what does the agreement entail? Does it mean a real big wall? Or it means you do it at your expense or make something small? The Chiddush is, he's saying, even though one said yes to somebody else, it means he agreed to the big wall. So the more of a Hezek, you want to tell me that Hezek is not a problem according to this Girsa. You don't have to build a wall if you don't have to. Tashma, what about a garden? You have to build a garden? Why have to build in the garden? Right? So says the Gemara, meaning so if you tell me that if you're telling me that Hezek is not a real, it's not a problem, and we talk about only an agreement that they said, what is the case of the Gino? It says by Gino you also, you don't have to build a wall if I don't want to. You want to just divide it. That's why I'm building a wall. If one understands Bishama by a chutzar, I understand that we agree to build a wall because that will be more comfortable for us. Why by Ginam requiring to build a wall? Says the Gemara, Gina Shani Kitavabo, Domaravabo, Maruna Marav, also the other Lamoy Bezdei Chaver Bishosh Shumendis Bekamisel. It says that you're not allowed to be standing when someone else is growing grain. He is harvesting his field, don't stand and look at it. Why not? Ayin hara. It's ayin hara. It's not because Hezek Riyah. Hezek Riyah means you're causing me to be uncomfortable. That's a chutzah. You can be or not be. By a gino, it's something else. It's ayin hara. I see your field blossoming. I see your field growing. You'll cause me ayin hara. That's why I have to have a wall. Not because of Hezek Riyah. Says the Gemara, okay. So the Gemara v'chen kitani, mashwa v'chen the what? It's the same reason gina and chutzar, and according to you, it's a different reason. So the Gemara gevil v'gaz is just the only thing that's similar is the size of the wall, but not the reasoning. In the gina, there's a reason because of ayin hara, and chutzar is a different reason because they agreed upon it. If you have a wall that was there and it fell, you have to rebuild it until the height of 4 amas. So you see that you have to build. Not sure there's a requirement to have a wall. So it was there, so that's al dasach. You should have the wall there. So what was the Karlu, my Karlu? What was even the Havamina? Sefer Tzichlin, the end. The Chiddush is, even though it was higher than 4 amas, more than 4 amas don't need to. A wall is 4 amas. If they did more, if it used to be more, it does. You don't have to do. You have to get it back to that level. You need to build a beishar and a del. A del is a door, and a beishar means that you put like an archway and you close it up so you don't see the entrance from Rishus Rabbi. Rashi brings a whole description that the door of the archway goes to the side, so it's not open to Rishus Rabbi. Mashi can have an opening to Rishus Rabbi. Shramim Hezek Riyah Shvei Hezek. So the more Hezeko the Rabbi Shani. There are many people looking at him. It's not one. So that's a real Hezek Riyah. If everybody in the street can see you, that's uncomfortable. You have one neighbor, it's not so much. So you want to tell me one is not? You don't divide the chatzah until you have enough space for each one to have 4 amos. This we'll get to a little later. If you do have enough to divide, you have to build a big wall because of Hezekriya. Just a small barrier. Toshma, another raya. You have windows. So if you have a window and someone's building a wall in front of the window, so if it's 4 amos higher than the window, or 4 amos low, you have to make sure that the wall ends now within 4 amos of the window. So it can't be 4 amos. If you're building a wall below, you have to make sure there's space between the window and the wall 4 amos. You're building a wall above, you have to make sure there's 4 amos space above over there. Right? And then you have, and if it's across as well, right? You have to make sure it's before 4 amos away from the wall, from the window. So it says over there, the top is he should have to be standing on his wall looking into the window of his friend. Should not be standing on it. You're able 4 amos, you're able to, pick yourself up on your toes and look. And right across is because you don't want it to make the house too dark. So what do you see now? Look inside. This is more Ezekiel the Baishani. A house is different. There's a difference between a house and a chutzner. A house, to look at someone's house inside, that we agree there's a Hezekriya. That is really damaging, either damage or lack of privacy. But in a chutzner, maybe not. So we're trying to bring a right to a chutzner. So you have a roof facing the courtyard of his friend. You have to make a fence 4 amos so you can't see. So you see over here again, you have to do a fence. Shani also don't the balchotza balagag the didi kvir le tashmishach. The didoch le kvir tashmishach. Tashmishach. Chotza you use always. The roof, when do you go on the roof? Once in a while, I don't know when you're going to be on the roof. I don't know when you're going up. You're going up there. I have to hide from you. In other words, what is the Gemara saying? The Gemara is saying there's a chiluk. Basically, the whole lamad, Hezekriya or not Hezekriya, is regarding a chotzer. A chotzer to a chotzer. So if I'm using the chotzer, you're using the chotzer. You go out and do your tash. I go out and do a thing. Do we say they have a problem with it? I have a lack of privacy. Or that's a normal tash. I'll make sure whatever I'm going to do private, I'll make sure when you're not outside. And that's what says, if you're on a roof, I never know when you're going up. It's not normal tashrish to do it. If it's a house, that's a lack of privacy. If it's a rabbi looking inside, that's again lack of privacy. Very specific chotzer, from one chotzer to another chotzer, that's a discussion of Hezekriya or not. And in this daf, in the first year of the Gemara, the first Gemara was that there's no problem with Hezekriya. You do not have to build a wall. We're talking about if they agreed to build a wall. But if they didn't agree to build a wall, you don't have to build a wall. That's what the Gemara says according to this.